Good morning, Megapodlings. Crazy Joe here, and I am going to, for the first time ever, bring you a full and complete episode of the MegaPodTastic Podcast here on YouTube. I have not uploaded any of my podcasts. I've uploaded segments, interview segments, to YouTube, but never a full podcast, and I'm going to do it right now. This is a special one for me. In 1986, the Monkees were celebrating their 20th anniversary reunion. They were touring, they were selling out tours across the country, and reruns of the Monkees TV show were becoming very, very popular on MTV, Nickelodeon, and local stations like here in the Philadelphia region. It was our Fox affiliate, WTXF Channel 29 was showing Monkees reruns, and people were eating them up. So the owners of the Monkees IP, who created the TV show, decided at that time that it would be a good idea to create a new Monkees TV show by bringing together 4 new young guys doing the whole same thing of TV and music integration. The show supports the album supports the show. The new Monkees debuted in the fall of 1987, and it was not a success. However, to this day, there is a devoted cult fan base, of which I count myself a member of that cult fan base. So, I was fortunate enough, in the fall of 2017, the show premiered in the fall of 1987, and in the fall of 2017, 30 years later, I got to interview 2 of the new Monkees, and the whole podcast was devoted to that interview. Here it is. This is MegaPodTastic number 192 from September 2017. Link down below to download the podcast, but here it is on YouTube for the first time. My interview with Dino Kovas and Marty Ross, 2 of the new Monkees. Enjoy it.
We got something for you. We got something for you, you. It's something Megapod shiny. It's wrapped in Megapod plastic. Put on your Megapod jammy. It's time for MegaPodTastic. 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 MegaPodTastic.
What the hey, MegaPodTastic's Crazy Joe. And guess what? It is September 2017. And that means it's the 30th anniversary of a TV show that premiered in the fall of 1987. It was the revival of a popular show from the 60s that was celebrating its 20th anniversary the year before, and the producers were like, hey, let's bring it back to television with new cast. And they did. And the show only lasted 13 episodes, 1 album. It is considered to be a failure, but it still has a cult following to this day. I'm talking about the new Monkees. I mentioned the new Monkees on one of the Dog Days of Podcasting episodes I did. Well, guess what? It is the 30th anniversary of the new Monkees, and I had 2 of them join me on the phone to discuss their time on the show. There were 4 new Monkees, just as there were 4 of the original Monkees. Their names were Jared Chandler, Larry Saltis, and the 2 gentlemen who joined me on today's show, Marty Ross and Dino Kovas. I was a fan, and it was a real joy to get to talk to these 2 guys. I really appreciate them being here. Now, I gotta tell you, this interview is a little different than interviews we've done here on MegaPodTastic in the past, because I lost control of this interview real quick. So I'm just putting it out there. This was my conversation with Marty and Dino of the new Monkees. I hope you enjoy it. If you were not a fan of the new Monkees, I really hope you will seek out some of their music and maybe check YouTube. There's clips on YouTube of the show. I mean, let's be honest, the show was not terrific, but the music was great. And I think that they were a lot of fun, and I really appreciated them at the time when the show was on. I really appreciated it, and I still consider myself a fan to this day. And I got to tell you, they did not disappoint. When a long-time fan of 30 years get to talk to two of the guys, they did not disappoint me in the least. They were exactly who I would have wanted them to be. And if my young 1987 sixth grade self had known at that time, hey, someday you're going to have a phone conversation with Marty and Dino, the new Monkees, that would have blown my little mind. So here they are. Here's how it happened. We had an arranged time to talk, and Dino was late. So this, what you're going to hear is Marty called in first, and we spoke for about 20 minutes before Dino joins the conversation. And Marty starts right in, man. He was awesome. I didn't even have time to give him an introduction. So he gets on the line and boom, he just goes. And I'll just let you listen. Please check it out. Even if you're not a fan of the new Monkees, at least stick with it for a little while. I think you'll find that these are really interesting guys, even if you've never watched the show. And I would encourage you to just give it a shot, because do it for old Crazy Joe. I think you're gonna like it. Here they are, Dino and Marty of the New Monkees.
Well, the time is close to midnight, but the party's only just begun. Be sure and tell everybody you know to come over and have
So, hi, Joe. How are you?
Hi, how are you?
I had a hard day today. It's very, very difficult, but I'm here, and I'm okay, and I'm alive, and the future looks great. And where's Dino?
I don't know.
Yeah, that might. This isn't unusual, but it's okay. You can ask me questions, and I can be as Dino. So just say, hey, Dino, Marty. What's it like being a drummer for a TV show? Well, you'd have to ask Marty about that. No. So what? Wait a minute. There's something that's I thought that was a little bit, as I think that of most people that are fans of the new Monkees is that they something happened in their childhood that caused them to have such a reaction. That there was. Well, it's kind of I used to sit there and think a guy that wore let's just say New York Yankees hat and a Beatles T-shirt. There's a guy that goes with the winners, right?
Yes.
But it's a guy wears the Minnesota Twins and let's say New Monkees T-shirt. Now there's a guy that goes on the edge.
Well, I'm from Philadelphia, so.
Well, there you go.
So we're used to not following the winners. So.
Well, that's true, but you also like to boo your own.
This is true. I'm not a sports fan, so it's irrelevant for me anyway. But
sure, but you could boo. But you have that ingrained in you as a Philadelphian to have that kind of thing where if you don't like something, you'll definitely complain about it.
This is true. Yes.
Yeah, it's a Philadelphia thing. I've seen people at one of those cheesesteak places sit there and complain about the amount of cheese that was on there. It wasn't the same as last time. And they're going, if you take a look at the way that's laid out, how they make them, they're not exact every time. They're going to be different every time, and
right.
That should be, that could be held on as being an attribute of great wonder. Of course, in Philadelphia, they've got a place. I remember the New Monkees visited Philadelphia. We did a radio show there, and I believe we were taken by the hole with. The hole that they call Ben Franklin's house or something. It's you can take a look into his basement or it's Ben.
Oh yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
It's not, and this is the site where Ben Franklin's house was, and this is what we think his basement may have looked like.
I know what you mean. Yeah, it's it's in a courtyard and it's under glass, and
right.
I was there once. Yeah.
Right. Well, if you really like every Philadelphian was there once.
It's that thing. You rarely visit the tourist attractions in your own city. You just kind of end up there at some point.
Yeah, I live about a mile and a half from Grauman's Chinese Theater, and it's like I say, why would I want to go to a movie there? Right in the center of it, the whole thing. People taking pictures next to their people's shoes and stuff like that. I've been there a few times to take people there and stuff. I want to see Clark Gable's shoes. So, it's like, okay, Clark Gable's shoes. And then you sit there, park, which is $20. And then you get out and walk, which is about a half a mile. And then it's like people are all standing there and there's photographs. And you sit there and you've done half, it's a disappointing thing. That's the only disappointing thing I really thought about Philadelphia is when I went to actually Ben Franklin's house, supposedly, paid a little bit of money to get through the courtyard and realized that it was somebody's fantasy of how his basement may have looked since his house had been torn down in 1790. So that, it's like everything. So when you start asking questions about the new Monkees, I've never been asked right out front. Maybe this would be a good question to ask. And Dino would be a good person to answer it. And just say, were the new Monkees a ripoff? Just as a straight question. It's because I've never been asked if it was a ripoff. I thought, I know that we had a TV show that the budget was $6.5 million for 22 episodes, which is a pretty damn good budget for that era. I know that the Star Trek: The Next Generation guys came over to say hello to us when we were at the same convention, and they thought our show was going to go crazy. They said, "Your shows, you've got a proven thing. You've got the Monkees. We're doing Star Trek. You can't do Star Trek."
Wow, you're getting ahead of me. I had stuff planned to ask you, and you're already hitting it.
I know. Yeah, I know. You're not the first that's treading on this sewage.
Well, I'm a legitimate fan, and I think that comes from the fact that
both of your parents were married when they had you?
Well, I'm 41 years old, okay?
Oh, there you go.
So I was not a first-generation Monkees fan. I came upon the Monkees during their reunion. So when you guys came around, I had been a fan of the Monkees for about a year. So it wasn't like sacred ground to me like it was to a lot of people.
Right. Yeah, well, no, that makes perfect sense. And, well, you know, I appreciate your service. Would you like it on Visa or MasterCard? I mean, there's so many strange stories about the new Monkees that when I start sitting there putting the kettle on and steaming up another pot of stories, it's like, wow, it's like I remember this stuff. It was a long time ago now, but I was in the center of the hurricane, and it was kind of a different story. The four of us had a lot different stories than most of the other people would have figured what it was. It's really crazy, but you know, it was exactly the same formula that they wanted to do with the new Monkees because it worked with the Monkees. So, you know, this is, you know, but the difference was is they wanted the new Monkees, they wanted to get individuals that were individual and not the Peter or the Mike or the Mickey, which they never could really get away from, and they underestimated their own power of what they'd done in that decision. And what a brilliant decision it was to have four guys keep their names for a show. I mean, it's a really, really brilliant idea because they became bigger than the show. And it was an original thought. So when you went out to do the new Monkees, I mean, my mother asked me, which one are you? You must be Mike Nesmith because you're really a good musician. And I said, Mom, you just did not say that. I said, you're not getting I explained to you the whole point of this. And she says, well, I know. She says, but between you and me, which one are you? So I told this to Mickey Dolenz once, and he was just laughing. He said, yeah, it was kind of a weird idea, you know, but, you know, wait a minute, where the hell's Dino? Why am I on this?
We'll just add Dino in when he gets here.
There it is. Yeah. I bet he's forgotten, or he's got something to do, or, you know, something like that. But that's okay, you know. Well, I always thought it's natural for the drummer to be late. I thought that's kind of a joke.
Well, I don't know. I sent a message on Facebook. If you want to send him a text or something, I don't have his number. But if you want to just send him a reminder, but
hell no, I'm enjoying this.
Well, anyway, I thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. Now we are coming up this month. This month is the 30th anniversary of the premiere of the TV show, the new Monkees. Now you already hit on something that I was going to ask you about, and that is, I don't know, I've never heard anyone make the connection before, but Star Trek: The Next Generation, New Monkees, both premiere September 1987. Both of them revivals of a hit show from 1966. Both of them, you can't do that. You can't recreate that. This is going to be a total failure. And yet, kind of gone opposite way. So, have you heard this parallel before? Has this parallel been drawn? Because I've never heard anyone make that before.
I've made it before.
Okay.
Yeah, I made it before. But I made it before because it's Star Trek, for crying out loud. I mean, at that time, remember, I think Star Trek: The Next Generation in the '87, they've done I don't know how many films, but that would be something to research. How many full-length films they had? I think 78, or I don't know which one was Star Trek. The motion picture was the first one, right?
Right.
And then the next one would be, I can't remember,
The Wrath of Khan.
Wrath of Khan. That was a very, and you know what? If it hadn't have been for the Wrath of Khan, it would have been doubtful that the cinematic end of Star Trek would have ever continued.
Right.
Because the first movie was just, they nursed it and made it so just even keeled. It was just, there's nothing really excitement. It was done like a 2-hour TV show. And they needed to do a movie version of it, and they'd never done a movie version of Star Trek before. So when this Wrath of Khan came in, and you get in the excessive acting of Shatner and Ricardo Montalban together, I mean, then all of a sudden it starts working, and it was a success. And I think that the new Monkees idea was on a totally smaller, different level. I mean, Star Trek: The Next Generation had money behind it. I mean, big money. I believe it was the first episodic television show with $1 million episode budget, and it was an independent, it was an independent show. And so they had $1 million episode budget, and that was money goes where money wants to go. But money usually, if it's behind TV shows, it can show success. And our show did not have that budget. I thought $6 million was a lot of money, but apparently it showed up in some of the values that we had. But again, some of the stuff that we had on our show was by the very nature of what the show was about. It was very, very either really way behind or really way ahead of the curve. I'm not sure, and never figured it out. But but there was a suspicious time there when we would be acting funny in the film. They would be filming, and then they say, "Cut. Let's stick to the script, guys. We know what to do." And says, "But everybody here was laughing when we were doing our own thing, and nobody's laughing when we were reading the script. Is that just the way it is in TV?" I thought, please stick to the script, because whatever you guys are doing is funny, and we're not looking for that. So I don't know. It's one of those mysteries that still confounds me. But as Star Trek got to be a big show, and the first season wasn't a great, huge success, but it built upon it, and they were very smart to stick with it. And the characters, of course, were all newly created. Still kind of, there's, you still have the doc, you still have the communications off. You still had the same people in position, but you had the same positional players, but they were completely different. You had a couple of guys. I like the fact that Worf was, leader. He was the warmongerer. Had to be talked down at every argument. But Captain, we should fire the shit out of those people.
Well, you'll probably get a kick out of my crazy harebrained idea, because keep in mind, I was in grade school at the time. You guys premiered when I was in the 6th grade.
All right.
My Saturday afternoons were New Monkees and Star Trek: The Next Generation dominated. That was the most important thing to me on a Saturday. Oh, New Monkees and Star Trek are on today. So
That's so cool.
You guys get canceled. And my now 7th grade brain came up with the brilliant idea, because Star Trek: The Next Generation in year 2 introduced the 10 Forward Lounge with Guinan. And
Yes.
I thought, oh my God, what would be great? The New
Yes.
Monkees was canceled. They should bring them onto this show as the entertainment that plays in the lounge.
Boy, you know what? That would have. You know what? We could have carried our feng shui disease of disaster over to that show, and we could have killed Star Trek too. I never thought about it, but as a young 7th grader, you and Armageddon are quite a handful. I'm thinking right there. Wow, that's a great idea.
In 1988, that just seemed brilliant to me.
You know what? I could have used the work. I would have taken it. we're off in the background. I go, yeah, that's Whoopi Goldberg there, and yeah, it's Whoopi Goldberg. If she's doing Star Trek, then Star Trek's okay with us. She says, yes, but she has something to do after Star Trek. You guys don't.
Well, we gotta backtrack just a little here, because with all due respect to you and to the new Monkees, I do have to accept the fact that a lot of my listeners may be completely unfamiliar with the new Monkees, with the show.
Yeah.
I mean, we have younger listeners who may not even know that this was a thing, that this existed. So,
sure.
So,
you can say to them right now that if to turn off the radio, turn it off right now, and you'll save yourself some time, because this may, between this and hurricane relief, I'm not sure.
Just the opposite, though. I think your story is fascinating. I've been telling people that even if you don't know who the New Monkees are, even if you weren't a fan of the show, even if you've never heard their music, the story is interesting. I've long said there should be a documentary about what you guys went through. And I even suggested it. I have a friend who's a documentary filmmaker who's a huge fan. In fact, I'm the biggest New Monkees fan he knows, and he's the biggest New Monkees fan I know. And I keep telling him, JJ, you got to make a movie out of this. So,
well, you guys, a documentary is a great idea. It's been thrown around for a while. There is a certain angle by which way that you would want to tell the story, and that is where the rub is how you want to tell the story. Because there's two different sides to it usually. There's one there that's be people that are fans of the New Monkees, of which you are and your documentarian friend is, and then there's 30 million people. And you could tell this story, but it's how it gets told. It's kind of a interesting story. My wife thinks it's it's ripe for documentaries. She's convinced it would be great, because it is one of those last, we're going to make you a star kind of things. This is pre-American Idol kind of thing.
Right.
It's we're going to take these four guys, take them out of oblivion or obscurity, and make stars out of them. And that's how, it seems to be that easy, but there's so many things that have to make a machine work that, that's probably something that is a discussion in itself.
So I've told my listeners before that they should check out the interview that Ken Mills did with you on Zilch.
Yes.
I've put that out there before. I don't usually like to ask a lot of the same questions you've been asked a million times, but seeing as we all know that the New Monkees are such a niche thing, I have to assume my listeners haven't heard that interview, so I got to kind of hit on some of the same things.
Sure. I'm 6'2". Oh, never mind.
Would you mind telling us how your involvement with the New Monkees, and I just got a Facebook message from Dino. He says,
Dino Kovas?
Yes.
Yeah, I know, you forgot. Yeah. Oh, we're already 21 minutes into this. Konstantinos Kovas, to your group, I completely spaced. I'm sorry, I just got home. You know what? He's such a nice guy. Don't beat up on him too much.
Oh, I won't.
No, but I should. I'm going to say, if he gets on, this is what I want to play. Is that okay? What we need to do is you say Marty's already discussed you. We're now on Marty. See, that works.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So let's just have one on him. He'll laugh. She couldn't put it into words. Hi, Dino.
What?
Hello?
Oh no, is his voice gonna? Dino, you can't. You sound like you're in the toilet, dude.
I'm in front of my computer.
I want to try this by you. What I'm going to do is set up a prove to me you're from Philadelphia, right? So this is what you're going to do. I'm going to say, hi, I'm Marty Ross from the New Monkees. And you go, boo!
Okay.
All right? Hi, Joe, I'm Marty Ross from the New Monkees.
Boo!
Boo, you suck.
Well, wait a minute. Does that prove I'm from Philadelphia, or does that just prove you're from the New Monkees?
Oh, my goodness, what a professional.
Okay. I love you.
That's a plot turnaround that I wasn't expecting.
I'm sorry. I'm just you've been I'm a fan.
This is what we've been doing.
Yeah.
We've been discussing you so far, and we're done with you, so we're now talking about me.
Okay, so I'll leave now.
No.
Hey, did you like the new Munsters?
I watched it, but I did not like it. I tried.
Saying you like the New Monkees is kind of like, going way back in time and saying I like fire and the devil. It's not like saying I like angels and sun and rainbows. Because Dino and I, when we started the New Monkees in a garage together, and we had guys come over from our neighborhood, and we had Chip, who ended up being Larry Saltis, and then we had and then we had Barney, who was a Jared, and these guys were all from the neighborhood, and we were like 6-7 years old, and we'd been together, and we decided we wanted to do a TV show. Is this the stuff you wanted to know about?
Absolutely.
So Dino calls me up, and he's from across the street, and we're going to get the band together again. And we decided we want to do a TV show, but Dino's 11, and he's not allowed off the block. So does this sound right, Dino? You remember it this way?
Totally. And I remember playing Asteroids, and I was thinking that I wanted to, be on a television show. Right?
Sure.
So you realize, Joe, that we were a band first, and then we were a television show.
Absolutely,
right.
like the Aquabats. So.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly like the Aquabats or Power Rangers. Yeah, you ever been to any of their gigs? Their gigs are cool, man.
The Aquabats?
Yeah.
No, Power Rangers.
Oh no.
Yeah, their live shows or something. I don't know.
Well, here, okay. Let me ask you this. It's been said by you guys. Actually, I've heard some interviews where you've said this. The name, the New Monkees. That it's been stated if you had another name, you would have had a better shot, right?
Definitely.
So I can actually prove that. This has been proven, and I'll tell you how I proved this. Back in high school, I played your CD for a friend of mine who was not familiar with the show at the time it aired. So this is several years later, I play the CD, and he says, wow, this is really good. If this band had had a different name, I bet it would have been a hit. And we're sitting in his kitchen, and there's a bottle of Crisco oil on the counter. And he said, for example, if they had been called Crisco. And I said, Crisco? That's a terrible name for a band. And he's like, well, I just thought of it because the bottle's there. All right, now we go forward a few years. I'm now in community college. I take your CD, put the songs on carts, and label them Crisco. You became very popular at our college radio.
Yeah.
I didn't tell anyone. They were like, who's this? I'm like, oh, it's this band Crisco. It was a little experiment to see what would happen. You got a lot of airplay under the name Crisco at Delaware County Community College Radio in 94.
And probably a lot of gay community over there as well.
So
you know what? I think I remember New Crisco. Wasn't there a New Crisco? I don't remember the original Crisco.
I think there was. What?
I think if New Crisco hadn't gone by that band name, they might have made it.
Yeah.
So, do you think that when it was decided you were going with the name New Monkees, when the powers that be made that decision, would it have been a better option to embrace that name and, like, the TV show. Your TV show was the exact opposite of the Monkees. They were struggling. They were in the beach house. They couldn't get a gig. They were always, oh man, what are we going to do? How are we going to pay the rent? They make you guys millionaires. If they had done a show where you inherit the beach house, he said, this is what Uncle Mickey left to us in his will, well, that kills Mickey, so that's terrible. But would that have been actually a little more commercial in that you embrace the name? I don't know. Do you think that would have helped or would have made it worse?
Let's try some Marty.
The reality of it is that by the time we were because you gotta remember, we found out that after all the auditions or whatever, we found it was 1986 when we found out. What I can't even imagine, it was like in the summer. It was June, July, August. It was June, July, August. We weren't filming for another 14 months. So we were sitting there with that name, the New Monkees, thinking that it was going to be changed. When we got to go to sell the show, the reason why I kept the name the New Monkees is because, first of all, the decision of Steve Blauner to not go with Fox. Fox wanted the TV show, and he didn't have faith in Fox, that Fox was going to be a real network, because so we were going to go independent. So the only way that we were going to get people to radio for independent stations was for them to know what the name was. Then out of all these other blossoming independent shows, the Monkees name had a cachet to it because it had been a successful show in the 60s. Just 2 seasons, but it made quite a difference on the landscape of television. So they stuck with the name The New Monkees because without the New Monkees name, the show would have never gotten on the air.
Right.
Yeah, and you also got to think that it was the what I lovingly call the regurgitation period of television, and that's why I had asked you if you watched the New Munsters, New Leave It to Beaver. Star Trek was the only smart show.
New Gidget.
I did watch the New Gidget.
Right, but it was that was the whole thing, and we were syndicated. Whereas the Monkees, they were on network, so they knew that they had a time slot. They knew all that. Our show had to be sold. So yeah, whether obviously it was a wrong decision.
Right. So
yeah,
I think that Dino's correct in everything he says. All the time.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. No, the last time Dino was wrong was when he said, "Let's take a left," and we were on Mulholland. That was in 1986, and we got lost. That was the last time. Ever since.
Do you know about Mulholland, Joe?
Excuse me,
Joe.
Yes.
Do you know about Mulholland Drive?
I've driven on it, but I don't know it well.
Right. So if you make a right or a left.
Oh, I get it. I got you. I'm slow.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's okay.
It's all right. Anyways,
I'm waiting for another question from Joe Fiore.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, well, you guys are like a comedy team. I'm afraid to say anything.
You got to understand, we've spent a year being trained together. It really is true. When the four of us are in a room together, we do take on different roles and parts, and we all work like a machine, even after all these years. It's actually amazing to see. My wife points it out, and she says, "Well, you guys are together." And it's just there's a magic. Well, the thing is that we're circus seals, and we've been trained to do this shit. We've been trained, and they picked us out because our personalities fit with each other, and it's even better than it's kind of like computer dating for TV characters.
Ooh, if we were gay.
Yeah, but we always Larry was. Conflicted about that. No, never mind. We always said that if we needed to have somebody that was going to be somebody that would keep the gay contingent of the powers that be, have Larry be the one, because they're not going to like him, and the money will start flowing through, when Larry goes to the other side. So, but we couldn't get that because he was the heartthrob of the band.
Right.
So everybody, because we, inside of our own group, the three of us, we called him Davy all the time, and he couldn't stand it. He goes, I'm not Davy. He said, oh, of course you're Davy.
It's funny because it drove you crazy when your mom asked that question, but then you did it to Larry.
Oh, of course. Absolutely. Yeah, except my mom wasn't going to confuse me with Larry or Davy. She was going to equate me with Wool Hat or Peter.
Oh, Wool Hat.
Yeah.
You really call them Wool Hat?
Yeah.
Wow.
No name, just Wool Hat.
Wool Hat.
Yeah, I always thought that was like, isn't that like a missing Star Wars minor character? Is Wool Hat.
Yeah.
You must go see Wool Hat.
Now, here's the question. My brother's going to kill me if I don't ask you this, Marty. Now, summer of 1987, I'm watching the Monkees on daytime TV, and every day they air a promo for your show coming this fall. And one of the promos has Marty running and barking. And it asks the question, why is Marty running? Why is Marty barking?
Right.
We never got an answer. Why were you barking?
Yeah, you want to know why?
I do.
The honest reason? I was being paid to do that. And I'll tell you what, when you get a hungry musician and they start throwing you cash, they can ask an awful lot of you. And
Right.
I had a good dog bark that I had, and I was known for that.
Well, I noticed you barked in several episodes, actually.
Yeah, I did, and some of them wasn't intentional. It was just, so everybody goes, ruff, ruff. And I go, oh, I'm sorry, I wasn't supposed to bark there, but I thought I would.
Right.
Any case, I remember doing that. They dressed me up. We were out in Santa Clarita somewhere, and we all did our individual things.
And you were in a kilt.
Was I in a kilt?
I
don't think I was in a kilt in that one.
I think you were in a tux in that. Or
tuxedo, yeah. You're right. You're right, tuxedo.
See? Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, this is... Yeah, you wouldn't have gotten this crappy of an answer 20 years ago, but see, nobody asked this 20 years ago. People said, oh, I remember the new Monkees. Too bad about that. So anyway, now we're going and having now we're being looked at by archaeologists.
And I remember yours too, Dino. You were in the fish tank.
God, how do you remember this stuff?
I remember that.
Well, here's the funny thing. I remember stuff that I watched on TV as a kid vividly, but I can't remember what I watched last week. It's one of the reasons I won't watch Game of Thrones. I watch Game of Thrones with my wife, and I keep saying, who's he? And she's like, don't you remember? I'm like, no, I don't remember. But if it happened 30 years ago, I remember it vividly. It's very weird.
So this is going to happen to you 40 years from now. You're going to be in a home, and somebody's going to sit there and say, the only thing he remembers is New Monkees and Star Trek Next Generation. So just pop that in the thing. They're going to go, we don't have New Monkees. It says, no, what? Well, try, because I'll tell you what, Dino, he came up with the idea that in 1988 we should have been the band on the forward deck of the lounge on Star Trek The Next Generation. Sitting in the background going, what I want, you can give me. Oh, give me, oh yeah.
So wait, Joe, you watched Star Trek The Next Generation, right?
Oh, yes.
There was a character, he was like a Vulcan, played by a black actor. Was that The Next Generation, or was that?
Oh,
no,
that was Voyager. That was Star Trek Voyager.
Do you remember that character?
Yes.
He was the character that I'm talking about, Marty. I actually befriended in Bill Hudnut's class.
Ah.
Ha!
I remember Bill Hudnut, yeah.
So why don't you tell Joe who Bill Hudnut is?
Well, Bill Hudnut was a very popular and highly regarded trainer of actors. He'd done a lot of TV shows where people would want to get some training of some people to get to know each other through improv.
So he did
what
his big show was Happy Days.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
So he was, and those characters in that show just seemed to mesh. It was Bill Hudnut that actually gave Henry Winkler the confidence to be able to do that character like he did, because it was fitting in with nobody else was that character. So he had a complete run with it. So he got with us, and it's the oddest thing because we were trained we did like a lot of stuff every Monday through Friday, or Monday, Wednesday, Friday. We did from 9 until 1 or something like that all day. I don't remember. Sometimes it was all day, sometimes it wasn't. But we did nothing but really kooky improv stuff all the time. And what's really strange about that is we spent months and months and months doing improv. We became a really pretty tight little improv group. And you could tell this still to this day, that we still know how to trigger each other's, we know where the humor is going. We do it pretty well. But then we got in front of
the camera,
and it was heavily scripted. And you can't go, and you can't be, and they would tell us to stop every time because we were so inclined to be improvisational, that when we got to a script, we couldn't make it funny because we were told to deliver it as it was done, and we hadn't been trained at all of that. I had a hard time having these lines where I'd say something idiotic and I didn't think was really who we were. So the scripts were not written around who we were as people. In fact, we had shows that were written for us by people who had never even talked to us.
But we already have a drummer.
There was plenty of things to be able to, if you hung around us and do that show, but that's one of the things. One of those I was telling before you got on, Dino, is that a TV show or any kind of entertainment production has so many little spriggets and widgets and little turns and gears that it needs to be able to be successful. And the new Monkees TV show was missing about 3 or 4 main things, and that was one of the things that was just the quality of the scrips.
Right, and a lot of that was character development.
Yeah.
It's like we never like looking at it from a 50-year-old eyes. You never know who these characters were. You never really got to see them. There was once in a while there were like a few scenes in some episodes where we actually gelled, and we were real people towards each other, and where you can actually enjoy us. And one of those moments was Meet the Pope, when we're sitting around at the end, right, Marty? Remember the
the Pope George Ringo line. That we literally read that as if it was we were really saying it. So it was one of those. We got towards the end of the run, we were actually starting to get good. We were getting good.
Right.
But the scripts were still awful, and so and we were getting really, really good at what we were starting to do. It's almost as if we'd done all the pre-work that you would have normally done, but we aired all our pre-work.
Yeah,
so,
it's true.
Yeah, all those shows should have been like practice shows. You wouldn't have aired half of those shows if they would just sit there and said, maybe that wrestling in there's so many things that you sit there and you go, okay, is there anybody here, like Joe said earlier, that this was the Monkees were based upon these beach bums at a beach house, of which, of course, the truism of it now today, Joe, I'm going to tell you the honest truth of it. That little beach house that they had in Malibu is worth more than our mansion is any day. You couldn't get that beach house for less than $9 million, and that mansion of ours is just decrepit up into the canyon somewhere.
Yeah.
So, and also, if you're writing the new Monkees and you're trying to do the Bible on what the show's going to be about, if you start off saying like what you said, well, it was willed by Mickey. That you said the same thing. I'm sure that these minds would have said, no, that means he dies. No, we can't have any of the original Monkees die. Let's see. What about, can they just be moved in? No, people will think they kicked them out or something. No, that's because the Monkees never move. You know, they got to be 45-year-old guys, and they still all live, the four guys in a beach house. That isn't too heterosexual.
They even did that TV special where they were still living in the beach house 30 years later.
No, oh my God. I watched that a little while ago, and it was that literally, that the scripting and all that, it came off like a New Monkees episode. It was, I mean, it was kind of weird and unbelievable, and the guys weren't, you know, they were kind of, it wasn't funny, and it was this and that, and it was unfortunate, and it was those guys, and there they are trapped with the script. That's how we felt a lot, you know.
Yeah.
You know, when Bob Rafelson would run in and direct an episode of the Monkees, he basically said the script and threw it in the air, and he said, "You guys do what you want to do." You know,
yeah,
and
executive director.
And the brilliance of that idea was the fact that they had been trained just like us in improv classes with a guy that, you know, that trained them how to be improvisational with each other. And they went with that strength. Now, if they had just kept with the shows, because half the shows you sit there and look at, sometimes it feels like three of the Monkees want to get through the day and want to do that, right? But some of them, they get ones that where they really are playing up on the script, and it really gets kind of funny and really loose. You could tell they might have all imbibed in something, or I'm not sure, you know. But you know,
you mean marijuana?
I didn't mean that at all. I meant Marlboro Lights. Oh, never mind. Anyway. No.
Do you think now? You're from the very start, from the moment you got on the line, Marty. You were very, very, very self-deprecating about the show. And
no, I'm not. No, I loved it. I'm so glad. You were what, 6 years old?
Well, probably 12, probably 13.
Oh, you're 12. You're a little old. You're a little old for the New Monkees, I think.
Well,
maybe no. You were the perfect age. Yeah, I think the self-deprecation thing is Dino and I have always. Yeah, go ahead, Dino. Oh, he's opening the door, or either that it's his crypt.
Yeah.
Well, going back and rewatching the show, and I have the DVDs right here, but
wait a second, let's see those. Let me see what they look like.
Wait a minute. Wait, where did you get that?
Now, Dino, you've given me a hard time about this online before, which I'm sure you don't remember. I bought this from a dealer at Philadelphia Comic-Con years ago, before I knew you were putting them out yourself.
Well, I guess the only thing that sort of pisses me off is that I give them away free.
Hey, Dino, let me see that artwork again. It's better.
And the only, yeah,
that artwork is pretty.
It is.
That's nice. Let me see that again. And just you open it up. Let me show the package inside.
Well, inside is plain white.
Oh, that's so cool. There's nothing there.
Dino, I would have much rather got this direct from you, but I did not know at the time I bought these that I could have.
But
so
I'm gonna tell you, you hold that up again, Joe. God damn it! I'm going to tell you something that's wrong with that.
Okay.
Do you see something that's wrong with that? There is one thing, and it's right at the top. The. Dino would never put out anything that said the New Monkees. Right. That is a counterfeit, and I'm going to report you to the FBI.
No. So, Joe, all I'm saying is somebody took my work and is making money off it.
Yeah.
You know?
That pisses me off, too. But I unfortunately, I did not know that at the time.
But I'm not giving them back.
No. I'm not, Joe, I'm not saying that for you. I'm just saying someone is that's but I guess we should feel honored that someone is actually trying to sell them.
You know, years ago I remember John Lennon's favorite hobby when he lived in Dakota, one of his favorite hobbies was Beatle bootlegs. He loved collecting them. You know, that was and I love collecting New Monkey stuff because, well, my face is on it. It's a pretty cool thing. I look and say, well, there's my face is on that. Look, it says this is going to be fun, and I get there's and for a little show, there was actually quite a hell of a lot of stuff that they released. and stuff that wasn't released. I mean, every day, whenever it was the four of us together on a New Monkees thing, there was 2 or 3 photographers or a photographer or filming or something besides the show. There are so many feet of film that are about us. I mean, I get a box. I'm cleaning out my garage the other day, and I have about a foot deep of slides. Just a foot deep of them with 20 on a page, and they're just all pictures of just production stuff, just us during the filming of the TV show, and of the Diet Coke ad that never aired. That's the one that probably is a holy grail for guys that like Joe Fiore if they find out there's a Diet Coke ad that I did, and it's never been aired, but it's pretty funny because it's me as a military guy that gets put into jail, and I do a Cool Hand Luke thing where I drink as many Diet Cokes as I can in 1 hour, and it's a pretty. Do you remember that, Dino?
I thought you were. Isn't that the short film with that like Bert's weird friend?
Yes.
Is it, yeah, that was. Didn't you get? You got pregnant or something?
Yes, I got pregnant in the video. I got pregnant.
Didn't you? Am I dreaming?
Well, I hope if you're becoming pregnant, then I think you need to do something about that.
I gotta tell you guys, this is the most bizarre interview I've ever done, but I'm enjoying the heck out of it.
Joe, when did you? I mean. Now let's get to this thing. I want to bust you on a couple of things. And this is going to be fun, okay?
All right.
Okay. How many shows have you done on this? How many?
We're almost at 200.
So,
I think that's good.
Let's just say that there's 199 things that you'd rather talk about before the New Monkees, of which you consider yourself to be a huge fan. I find this to be kind of an insult. 200 shows and you're getting out to us? I'm going to tell you, Joe, that if I sit there and I say, Joe, I grew up with you. You and I are like one of my best friends from high school. You're like one of my favorite people. Says, yeah, I want to save you for my 417th show as being one of my favorite people. It's like when you find out somebody's got 2,500 friends, and you go, they're not all friends. How many friends do we have? So here, Joe, I'm busting you on this. You got to the New Monkees a little late in the game, buddy, and you got a couple of old men who can't remember a thing about it.
I was waiting for the 30th anniversary.
Yeah, something like live from the Titanic.
Well,
Hey, Joe, are you coming out for the get-together?
I want to. I very much want to, but I'm afraid. I'm afraid I can't.
Why?
Because we're one of his favorite shows of all time.
Because we're broke.
I know what show he'd come out for. It's a Star Trek: The Next Generation. That thing could be in Taiwan, and he'll be there.
Wait a minute, Joe. I see a piece of artwork behind you that I think you could probably sell.
Oh, the gem and the holograms?
No, the Spider-Man pillow.
He's talking about your blinds.
Oh.
That's not artwork. Oh, wait a minute. Isn't there... Joe, I really, really am... In our short time that we've come to know each other, I really appreciate your effort in trying to expand the New Monkees collective, as it were, and explaining it to the young people that are out there. We want you to know that the New Monkees actually are friendly. We've all been declawed. We're nice men. And it's I think it's like $75 for all of us to appear.
Your birthday party.
Yeah, and we're gonna be Joe. We're gonna be a surprise guest at your next. When's your next birthday?
My March 21st.
Oh, we don't have much time.
Yeah, you're right. And that's.
I mean, we
got to start saving.
We have 11 songs we know.
Hey, I would love that.
Yeah. So, New Monkees 2, you realize we never broke up.
Yeah. That's why there's never a reunion.
Yeah, it's not a reunion. It's a get-together. It's a get-together. Catch-up.
Right.
Yeah, so the New Monkees 2 album, I mean... you know, I mean, I thought the title of the album should be Already with a question mark.
Yeah, but I thought that it should be For Alive.
For Alive. That's right. Because, you know, God bless Davy Jones and all the original Monkees. He says, but you know, the fact of the matter is like we're all old now. So the difference between I always used to hate it when they say, you know, the difference between the new Monkees and the old Monkees. So I said, what's the difference between the new Monkees and the original Monkees? And they said,
right.
What is it? I said, I just said it. I mean, that's the difference.
Right.
Like in the title. And we go back.
Hey, Marty.
Yes. Hi, Dino.
Did you tell Joe that you're going to play?
Oh, no. I didn't tell him. But he knows. He probably knows. He follows my career, so, you know, I mean, in like dust in a shadow of a minor hurricane. I think, well, yeah, I'm playing a show October 21st.
Yeah. You're opening for Mickey, right?
No.
That's right. And Mickey and Felix Cavallari. You know who Felix Cavallari is, right?
I do not.
No, he didn't have a television show.
That is so odd because if you sit there and you say Felix Cavallari is like in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and is one of the most successful songwriters in history, of which neither Mickey is. And so, but Mickey's the bigger star because he was on TV.
Sorry.
So it's like,
right.
It's just one of those weird things, you know. You gotta. I'm opening for Felix Cavallari and of the Rascals.
Okay.
And Mickey Dolenz of the Monkees on October 21st at the Saban Theater in Beverly Hills. Get your tickets today.
Yeah, it's going to be a rockin' show.
Yeah, with a surprise guest.
Oh, I think I'm guessing I know who this is.
Yeah, I know. It's Jared.
That's very
Jared
cool.
will probably be there. But yeah. So in any case, well, so far it's been fun.
there's some people out there who want to like shit on New Monkees, and they never really take the time to actually realize that there are some people that New Monkees meant something to when they were kids. You know what I mean? So it always annoys me when people start shitting on New Monkees.
Well, that's part of why I wanted to have you on. I wanted to expose the New Monkees to, because I don't know if a lot of my listeners are familiar with the New Monkees, and I wanted to expose you guys to them because I think you're great. I think your album is fantastic. I still listen to it all the time.
I'm so proud of you, Joe. I hope that your parents and I hope that all of your family recognize your needs.
Well, let me ask you those. You guys, did you have? It seems to me that the fans of the New Monkees have come together on Facebook, and before that on Yahoo groups. There was an active Yahoo group for a long time.
Yeah.
Before the internet. Before the internet came around, did you guys ever think that a fan base was out there, or in those dark ages where we couldn't connect so easily, did you just think this is a completely forgotten about thing?
Fuck. That's
you know what, I can't remember before the internet. You know what happened is that the internet happened, you know, as the show ended. It was early 90s. Yeah, you know, there was this time when, you know, it was just very strange. Every once in a while, I would be somewhere or someplace, and somebody would say, "I remember watching your show, you know, this and that," and I would think, you know, people kind of recognize me sometimes, and you know, it was kind of like that show was gone, but it left behind a very, very strong sentiment of dislike from the Monkees crowds, who to this day still are. Some of them just are just particularly hung up on the fact that they can't wrap themselves around this thing that happened 30 years ago and isn't really bothering them. And it's like, it's very strange. You know, I'm not going to listen to the New Monkees. Oh, there's only 4 original ones. Those bastards who they brought out, you know, they'll be like really vitriolic about how they hate the New Monkees. It seems to be even more so than their love for the Monkees is their hatred for the New Monkees. So
that's the only reason we're around, Joe, is because we're hated.
We were hated so much that people remembered us more than the people that loved us. There was a lot more people. You're so much in the, you know, people did not come out together to do New Monkees activities 5 years after the show. And it was just, I think there was one get-together at Ed DeBevick's on La Cienega with Dino. I don't know what year that was, like 90, 91, 92, something like that?
No, that was actually pretty close to, no, that was like 89. It was like 89. There was, Joe, it was actually it was really bizarre. My wife and I, she wasn't my wife at the time, but we met like maybe 13 people at Ed DeBevick's, and there was actually a gal who was putting out like a fanzine, you know, and she was
yes.
Remember that? She was sending it out to different people all over.
J.C. Hubel?
Yes. And so for a while, you know, she sent out this fanzine to a whole bunch of people, and it was interesting. You know.
That was great.
Thanks.
It was interesting. Yeah. That's what it was.
But that goes to Joe's thing about not having the internet, you know. So these gals, they were actually trying to do something, you know, the old-fashioned way. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that's why I always dug the fact that there was always, you know, a group of people who dug the New Monkees. I mean, because not a lot of people can say that.
Yeah, when we meet up, guys. Oh, you didn't hear about this? You know that one of his best friends wants to do a he's a documentarian.
Well, Dino's friends with him on Facebook. JJ Garvin.
Yeah.
He's a documentary filmmaker. He and I met probably about a decade ago, and we kind of bonded over our mutual New Monkees fandom.
You don't want to. Wait a minute. Right now, I'm going to tell you, you don't want to have that be a basis of friendship. It will go south. Well, you were the one that liked the New Monkees. I never said that.
I only like their CD.
Yeah, you like their show. I didn't like their show. You like
Hey, my brother and I both own T-shirts with the New Monkees logo on it, the N and the M interconnecting. We both wear them to this day. So, well, we only bought them about a year ago. So to this day, we've had them for a year.
So what's the new stuff that you like? Let's see. Are you getting on board with the X Train, or let's see, some shows. I'm trying to figure out, since you like shows from 1987, that maybe you like also stuff from the 1990s and stuff. And so, I'm sure that there's only a couple of shows left that you'll sit there probably 5 years from now and says, "Oh, the New Monkees, yeah, I interviewed those guys, jerks." See, it's Joe Fiore from Philadelphia, and it's a nice man. And people are going to ask me, so how is Joe? And I said, he's really, really great. He kind of let us have his show for a while. We took it over.
Hey, Joe.
Yes?
This is one of the culprits. Can you see that?
Yeah.
That's
Well, you
Victor.
guys have a visual thing? Why don't I have visual thing?
That's Victor Fresco.
Okay.
You know who Victor Fresco is?
He created Better Off Ted and Andy Richter Controls the Universe.
Do me a favor. Look up Rob Fresco.
Okay.
Oh, Rob Fresco. And
Yeah.
Rob Fresco sounds like a sparkly alcoholic beverage, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Hey, I'll have a Rob Fresco.
He was on Heroes. Producer of Heroes?
Yeah, and but more importantly, who he was, he's the one who wrote and directed Dino's Kitchens.
Oh, wow.
Well, I'm just saying is all.
I know that there was somebody there that actually listened to the constructions of making it funny.
Well, I think you guys were funnier than you give yourself credit for, because like the Pope episode, I've rewatched that, and I still think that's a really funny one. And
Well, thank you.
Dino, you have a delivery that cracks me up, and that's with the Pope mouthwash when you go, "I bet that tastes good." It's not necessarily a funny line, but it made me laugh.
But Joe, secretly, the funny one was Marty, but they would never let him go off because, and when Marty was talking, when Marty is saying about the scripts, he's totally right. We as a group were funnier when our personalities were allowed to sort of fuck around together. You know what I mean?
Right.
And that one scene is kind of the epitome of them letting us play around, and that scene has some of the best energy in terms of us together. And I also thought the what's that time the one where they went into the parallel universe. I thought Marty Marty was hilarious, in that, because they allowed him, they let him be free as opposed to half of the other times. And what was interesting is these shows were all later shows, like the Larry Leaves and the Pope, and these were later shows that we were sort of starting to catch our stride in, and then we got canned.
Well, why didn't they, when the ratings were down, why didn't they experiment more? Like, if they saw the writing on the wall, couldn't they have said, well, let's let these guys improv a little bit because the
Well,
scripts.
Joe, the reason why that wouldn't happen is because the show was already on off the rails anyway. There was nothing to go rail off of because there was several elements being pulling one way or the other on a show that was probably after the third or fourth episode was scheduled in their minds to be. I mean, there's a thing about television and the way that some people make money and some people don't make money, and usually the way people make money on a show is that the producers, usually executive producers, and you know the difference between an executive producer and a producer. A producer works on the show. The executive producer is the financier. He's the big money. He's the one that gets paid. And the executive producers of the New Monkees was Steve Blauner, Bob Rafelson, and Bert Schneider. Now, if any money was going to be made off the show in a way that was going to be made, those three were going to get paid first. So when it got to the idea that the New Monkees might not be doing well, and the episodes were not doing well ratings-wise, they basically let the show just run free. It was really, really weird, but the fact is that the later episodes were better only because everybody started knowing how to work a show. Nobody that was in that show, very few people that were part of that show, including us, knew what a TV show was or how to run one.
Or how to do it. And Marty's not. There's truth to that because in 2007, Victor Fresco and Matthew Fassberg, along with Steve Blauner, they came down to our little get-together. And Victor it was very sweet, and he said, and I don't know if you were around, Marty, when he said this, but he said, we had no idea what we were doing. If I knew then what I know now, it would have been different. You know, and that was the whole thing, is that they were these young people that basically had a decent idea and didn't quite know how to execute, you know. And I think for what they knew, they tried to pull it off, and that's why there was, you remember, Marty, there were always other creative forces like David Wilde or you know, because they needed that. And the truth is, they couldn't change shows when they knew the ratings were bad, because we started shooting in July and our shows were pretty much shot, you know. And maybe if we would have got picked up for the back nine, then we could have changed up a little bit. But at that point, all shows were pretty much shot. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like the only other show that wasn't shot when we found out we were canceled was the 13th episode, which was that monstrosity. What was it called, Marty?
It was called The Last Show.
Yeah. Was it really called The Last Show?
No, it was called Monkey Man. No, I can't remember. But in any case, you know, the whole thing also hinged on other. You know, when you make a TV show, you have so many different hinges and wheels, like I said, that need to be fully seasoned, oiled to work a 30-minute show. But we had another axe on or something on our backs, which was the album. So what happened is Warner Brothers thought that the New Monkees TV show would push the album. And the New Monkees TV show was waiting for the album to do something.
To get pushed, right.
To get pushed. So, but neither one pushed.
Right. It's true. It's true.
So, you know, and it was kind of strange. In the later shows, you'll see a little scroll at the bottom, buy the New Monkees album right now or whatever. That was the extent of what they could do on the TV show for the album. We were already doing videos. We were already pushing the album. The album was pushed more on that show than any other show that I could remember, even the original Monkees show. It was just really, really weird. We'd have 3 videos per episode, or 4 sometimes, you know, and it was really, really strange. And then Warner Brothers, who is there sitting there waiting for the show to do something, and in Hollywood, what happens when something has a stink to it? Nobody wants to be around to smell it. So people will abandon a ship of a sinking Hollywood disaster faster than anything you'll see. You'll find that there'll be 100 people that will, claim success, whereas, failure is an orphan, the old saying.
Right.
Failure is an orphan. And so when the show was starting to go bad, and, we had some ratings that were not bad. Sometimes in threes of fours, in the mid, we cracked fives, low 5.1, 5.2 in San Francisco.
Seattle at 1:30 in the morning. 1:30 in the morning.
We were like the most watched television show in Seattle's history in the middle of the morning. But the thing is that those ratings now, those would be we'd be holding out for $1 million an episode, each one, the four of us, and we want Rolls Royces that open up so that we can have somebody drive them for us and land on the moon. That would be what we'd hold out for, with that kind of ratings, because the money would have been insane with that kind of show now.
George Harrison's album was released the same time as ours. So who's Warner Brothers going to? Yeah, who's Warner Brothers going to push? A Beatle or New Monkees with the stink on it?
Which was the imitation of a TV show that imitated the Beatles. But no, there's a real Beatle here. I suppose the real Beatles gonna be. Yeah. So
Marty, you told a story on Ken Mills' podcast about how they didn't they were protecting you from the hate mail, things like that, how you came upon the letter. So at what point did you realize in the making of these 13 episodes, at what point did you realize we're coming to an end? Like, did you know the last show was the last show, or was that even before it all had been revealed?
No, I found out that the show had ended after I'd come back from Chicago and Milwaukee on a press junket. I did 2 New Monkees commercials in Chicago and in Milwaukee, and at the zoos in front of the monkey cages.
That's because you were one of the 2 from the Midwest.
That's true. Yeah. So I got back there and I got the required limousine drive from the airport to my apartment back, and the phone rang, and it was Marlon Staggs, who was the line producer, and he said, "Well, the show's been canceled." And I went, "Oh God, we kind of knew that." But there was this space where we didn't know, and I don't know what was mysteriously going on between the time that we'd stopped shooting and the time we didn't know whether we were getting picked up. Nobody knows. I've never heard of anything or what was being done. I heard Glauner was trying his best to try to get to more episodes. I was also hearing the fact that he didn't care as much. You hear all these different rumors, whether they're true or not. It's what goes on when you're sitting there and you're in limbo. I mean, you're literally talking about, having a decent job, going out and doing what you want, or trying to make your rent again. So it's where it goes. So he told me that in that car, he said, "Well, it's over, but I got to also tell you that the money's gone. There's no money." And I go, "What are you?" Okay, he said, "So the limo ride from it's on you." And I went, "What?" "Yeah, I'm sorry. The limo ride's on you. I can't. There's no money for it." I'm going, "But this was scheduled before the show we knew the show was canceled." Well, so in any case, I got out of the limousine and at the federal with my luggage off in front of the federal building on Wilshire Boulevard, and called a cab to take me the rest of the way.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was how I found out. And 2 weeks later, or no, maybe just a couple of days later, a guy named well, I won't say his name, but he was a friend of mine that I got a job on this. I got him a job on the damn show, and he came to my house and knocked on the apartment and said, "All the gear that you were given has got to come back to the show." And I'm going, "What? I haven't even had time to open the boxes up or anything. This is like my studio. This is like what I was going to have a studio. This is what I was given by the show. I said, no, it wasn't given. It was loaned to you, and he says, I feel really bad. So there I was 2 days later without a show, nothing coming in or anything like that, and all my gear was gone. That kind of was the lowest point. Was about the 2 days later after that. Then I think I drank for about a week straight, 7 days straight, or something like that, and got myself good and ripped up, and then felt really crappy, and got myself back up and tried to make the best of it. I mean, the breakup of the New Monkees is one it's really, really weird, because all of us kind of knew about it, but there was also stuff that we weren't told, which was that later on, all that gear and the stuff that was going on, was being auctioned off. And I went out there in my car to the set, and there's people like loading the backs of their station wagons or cars with just shit off the set. I mean, we're talking about people moving, and Jared was there, and he was going, dude, I'm taking the brick couch. And I went, oh, and it was weird, because he said, you can't take it's too heavy. He says, here, help me. And so we couldn't take that, and it's, but there was people taking their own. I took my own paintings off, that the director, Catherine Hardwick, who never worked on the New Monkees apparently, but she painted this painting of me. The paintings that you see, the kind of like the Warholian ones,
right?
Yeah, I've got those. I've got those in my house, and I picked them up, and it was like really weird time going out and scavenging for the stuff off of a show. I know that Dino got a lot of the press stuff, and we were all like getting crap because
But I didn't get my bust. I didn't get my paint. I didn't even know that they were that.
Right.
I had no idea. Like, no one gave us warning. Like, hey, by the way, if you want your stuff, or if you want some stuff, that kind of pissed me off, because they didn't even have they didn't have the decency to even tell the principal characters of the show that, right. Oh, by the way,
and that's another way that what I'm talking about when you're on a failing show, everybody's out for themselves.
Yeah.
And it's just the way it is. And therefore, what happens a lot is that you'll find these people that will be like together and best friends for people that are like on successful shows. But you won't find a lot of people, oh yeah, we worked on that show. The thing about it is that the guys and I, the four of us, have remained friends all these years, and you won't find a lot of the principals of shows that just tanked, because they don't want to hang around each other, because there's a suspicious of failure hanging around those people. Well, I never did another TV show, neither did the rest of the three other guys, so it doesn't bother us.
Right. Right, and plus it was the whole the way that we were brought together was actually a special, it was a special bonding thing. It's something that a lot of people don't get to go through. And it was exactly the same way that the original Monkees went through. They went through the same thing, except we aren't trapped by the burden of having hit songs and success.
It honestly sounds like, with all due respect to the original Monkees, whom I love, it sounds like you guys weathered it a little better, because they
Yeah, Larry's still alive.
You guys are still very, very close, whereas there've always, I don't know if we want to get into rumors, but there were always rumors, Davey and Peter aren't talking, and Mickey doesn't, but you guys never had that. So it seems like you guys came through it even stronger than they did with the success and the
Strength Through Failure is a new book. The four of us are writing. And because success is such a rare bird that people ought to learn to get along through failure.
Right.
And strengthen
Failure is a unification tool.
Sure, failure's great. I mean, failure. It's got my band. I have a TV show band that I can rely on for all of my musical needs.
Well, it's now 30 years later, and we're still talking about it. And you're having a get together in November. Was it really a failure when it's all said and done?
Yes. I mean, it was a failure of the monument. You see, the thing is, it was a failure of monumental proportions. You're talking about it. You're talking about a thing that took the name of a really, really. I mean, the Monkees. I mean, we took the new Monkees name, and we were on Warner Brothers. We weren't on a little label. We were on the biggest label in the world, and not on the sub label. We weren't on Glitch or Sublit or whatever, those twin tone records or whatever. We were on Warner Brothers.
Warner Brothers.
And the only time when I ever felt like we were kind of like out of place was when I went to Warner Brothers one afternoon. It was in the fall, October, and they said, "Look, here's this album we're going to release. It's for radio only." And I looked at it and I went, "It's called Yulesville." And it was a red album. It's a red album, and it's very rare to find. Do you know about this, Joe?
Is this the one with the Christmas song on it?
Yes.
I that's on my Christmas playlist. I'll say that.
But you have the album.
I don't have the album, just the single.
Because the album has Prince, The Pretenders, Brian Wilson, George Harrison, the Ramones, Ice-T, all the
and New Monkees.
And New Monkees, which is one of these things is not like the other. One of these things is not the same. It's the New Monkees, and they're not like the others because they are a failure in their name. Woo-hoo. Oh, yes, it's the New Monkees. And it was always one of those things where you sit there and you say, how many times has Dino or I or Larry or Jared, this is going to be one of the weird things, is whenever, and it's rarely, but when it does come up, somebody will sit there and say, oh, he was in the New Monkees. And they'll say, what was that? And they'll say, oh, there's a TV show in the 80s. Oh, really? Which that like the Monkees? Was that like the Monkees? I said, yes, but the New Monkees. Oh, which one were you? And it's like, no, I can't go into it right now. But it's not which one am I? I'm Marty. I played Marty. I played me. So it wasn't so. But which one were you patterned after? No. So you got to understand that the show's name gave us probably it's given us a certain infamy in some ways. It's also kept us kind of like, it's also kept us, the album withstanding, I enjoy the album. I think it's really well done. We had a little brief time there where I thought that literally when I saw the New Monkees name, and I'll agree with you, when I saw the New Monkees name on the album, I said, "Oh no, that's not going to help. It doesn't look good on the album. Just the Monkees name, because the Monkees name is a lot larger than the New, and it just says New, and then there's Monkees, and you look on either side and you go, this says Monkees, and it's not, and it's obviously not the Monkees. So it's confusing right off the bat. And if the show couldn't be called anything else, then maybe the album could have, or just like not even called it anything. I'm not sure. Maybe like a Spinal Tap thing with just a black album. So, yeah. But I know that I know, Joe, you say you like the New Monkees album, and people that will come down to the Zabons. No, never mind. I will probably play a couple songs off that, and a special guest will maybe drudge up some of the New Monkees sludge.
Joe, you can't. Yeah, see, that's the thing. The whole self-deprecation thing. You can't. Here we are. We were part of this group television show that. We're not going to sit here and be like, yeah, we're New Monkees, and so it's something that we don't deny, but it's definitely not something where I think we go prancing down the street saying and yelling that we're New Monkees and we're proud and blah blah blah. But the fact is that New Monkees existed, and it was us, and for the people that care. We're there for the people that care. For the people who want to shit on New Monkees, well, then they can take a shit somewhere else. So
Yeah,
and I guess that's the thing is, we don't have to worry about making Monkey fans happy. I don't give a shit about making Monkey fans happy. I don't want to go out there and I'm not ripping into them. Just if they don't want to dig us, then they don't have to. They can play with their monkeys and do all that. But Marty, I know Marty feels the same way. It's not like we have to kiss ass in order to be new Monkees, because we're not making money off it. So
right.
We're
What?
actually wait, you're making money?
Wait a minute, I didn't get the last envelope.
But you're right. Me neither. The last envelope I got was for like 20 cents. That was royalty of some kind. So, but you understand what I'm saying, Joe?
I
it's
understand.
Like we don't have to perpetuate like new monkeydom so we can go out and have shows and do those kind of things. We just kind of do whatever, whenever, and it doesn't bother us.
I still have my thing that I do. What I have done since the 1987 cancellation of the New Monkees television program is that I have had a $1 million price for one person that I will not only go over there and play New Monkees songs for, but I will live with for a year. And I will cook, and I'll drive them anywhere. And that's a $1 million offer that I've been offering since spring of 88 about, when I realized that, and it hasn't happened yet. So I want to tell somebody, it's the offer. What's $1 million, and I will live with them for a year. And I'll play that New Monkees song anytime they want to hear one. And
Right.
I'm good with breakfast. I'm great with omelets and stuff. And I can order delivery really well. I'm really good at that.
And he's a good driver.
Yeah.
Well, of
I'm a
course,
really
he was
good
in the
driver.
movie My Chauffeur.
Oh, God. There you go.
Oh,
Joe Fiore.
see how it all comes back around?
See, are you in the comics union, Joe? That was get a My Chauffeur reference in there towards the end. I like that one.
Yeah.
Hey, Joe, what did you ever think about Bess Mata? We never talk about those characters.
I almost went down to meet her at. She was at a convention, a Chiller Theater convention in New Jersey a couple years ago.
She was in the Transformers. No, not that one. Translator. No,
Terminator.
Terminator. That's right.
Yeah, and I thought about going, but it was a 2-hour drive, and I was thinking, I don't.
So, Joe, if you're hedging on a 2-hour drive, then you're not coming here, are you?
I want to. Honestly, my brother yesterday left my house. He's a huge fan too. We watched it together as kids, and he says, "I'm going home. I'm going to stop. I'm going to buy a Powerball ticket. If I win, you and I are going to see the New Monkees in November."
Really?
Yeah, because we
I'll
don't.
tell you what,
I
you
got
win the Powerball. I'll tell you what. For $1 million, I'll spend a year at your house. Oh, never mind. Well, okay. Thanks, Joe, for being on our show. We'd like to welcome everybody and do a thing. Our podcast isn't going to be shown ever again, or we can't find us. But Joe's actually recorded this, and so we're going to leave it to him to make something decent out of this. What was this mess? This has been a mess.
No, it hasn't. It's been very informative.
You told Monkees fans you didn't care about them.
No, I didn't. That's not what I said. I said.
You said.
Did I say that?
You said I hope they die.
I didn't say. Did I?
No, you didn't.
Well, it's because I'm.
Yeah,
no.
You did. What I'm going to sit there and say is one of the great things about the difference between when people say now, what's the difference between the New Monkees and the original Monkees, right? You know what the big difference is? We can kick the shit out of them.
Well, let me get you.
That's not nice.
Let me ask you this before I let you go. Could it have worked? Is there anything that you could have changed that you think, hey, if we had done this instead of this, it would have been a game changer?
They could have cast 4 guys that would have made a hit show.
Maybe I'm partial because I'm a fan, but I don't think the casting was the problem. So.
No,
wow.
it was partly writing. It was definitely partly the name. It was definitely Marty actually hit it on the head when he said Warner Brothers was waiting for Columbia. Columbia was waiting for Warner. Man, we could sit here and
There's a lot of
yeah.
different reasons, and and the problem is there's a lot of big reasons, like the Columbia Warner thing and scripting and a lot of things like that. I mean, we shot in color. That was about as good as it got. We as New Monkees, we could be, we could have been of, might have, and could have, but we weren't, never, and couldn't have been. We should have, might have, I'm going to work on this and I'll get back to you.
Yeah. Because
honestly,
Marty, I think you're onto something.
You know what? If here's the deal, okay, Joe. The truth is if the show would have been a success, we would have had maybe 2 years, and that would have been on Fox, and it's 2 seasons. We would have had another album out. Probably wouldn't have been as good as the first one. It might have been, it just might have been something that was out of our hands. And the thing about it is that one of us, if not all of us, would have been in rehab. Because of the success. And
I may have, or I may have married Besmata.
Yeah, you would have married Besmata, and then I would have been her second husband. So how's old Bess doing? Fine. Yeah, 15-minute workout. She's still working out. I tell you. Yeah, and if the bigger we were, then the more it would have been kind of maybe I wouldn't have. I enjoy where the New Monkees is now. I kind of enjoy it that it's small and kind of like devoted following. I like that.
Yeah.
I like the people that are out there that really, really have, like you, that really enjoyed the show, because I think that you guys are really, really honest about your feelings. I think that it's a lot harder to be a New Monkees fan than it is to be a fan of Whitesnake or anything that became successful in the 80s.
Right.
So it's a very, very honest feeling that you have, and I really appreciate all the fans out there that really, really have a feeling for the show. I really feel bad for them. I mean,
no, but Marty's right. I mean, that's why I always felt that. That's why I always send out the DVDs, and I'm not selling them because we do appreciate that there's people out there who actually like the New Monkees, and they got to.
It's his Breaking Bad thing. It's how he moves the meth.
Shut up, Marty.
I want to thank you guys for joining me, and I want to tell our listeners, and I'm going to put it in the show notes so our listeners can just, if you want the details, go in our show notes, click on it. But you can see Marty and a surprise guest on October 21st.
Dino and I love you, and when we come to Philadelphia, we'll stay.
You're more than welcome to.
At your place.
You're more than welcome to.
Yeah, that lasts about 8 hours, and then it's literally the door's open. Why is the door open? It's cold out. You guys have got to go.